Everyone, welcome back. In this video, we are going to do a quick high-level review of Unit 3 and everything that you'll need to know before the AP Calc AB exam. So in this unit, typically you learn different techniques to take the derivative. So you can see here, we start with the chain rule, then we review implicit differentiation, then we go over how to differentiate inverse functions, what the derivative of the inverse trig functions are, and then how to calculate higher order derivatives. So starting with the chain rule is helpful for taking the derivative of composite functions. So as a refresher, a composite function is a function within another function. So you can kind of see that here. So I kind of think of it as an outer function and an inner function. Technically, you can have multiple inner functions, but it's easiest to learn this topic with just an outer and an inner. So in this case, outer function is sine, inner function is x squared plus 1. So basically, whatever my inner function is, I let that equal u, which is what I did here, and then I let my outer function equal y. And then basically, I take the derivative of both of those using this formula, and I evaluate. Not going to go through all of that now because, again, I don't want to go too in the depths. I'll do a separate video on the chain rule, but that's first technique that you will need to know. Second, implicit differentiation. Implicit differentiation is really no different than everything you've already learned up to this point. The only difference is that you're taking the derivative of functions like this where y is not isolated. So you could technically just isolate this for y and then take the derivative, but depending on the function you're dealing with, sometimes that's really difficult to do. And then when you take the derivative, it's really messy. So oftentimes it's easier to just take your equation in this form and just take the derivative. So that's basically implicit differentiation. This is just how to find vertical and horizontal tangents. So to find the horizontal tangent, you set the derivative equal to 0 and solve for x and y. And really that basically means setting the numerator equal to 0 because as a refresher, when the denominator is equal to 0, that makes our function undefined. So basically when you're thinking horizontal, you think numerator of the derivative equal to 0. To find the vertical tangent, you set the denominator of the derivative equal to 0. All right, this is the formula for differentiating inverse functions. Again, not going to go too in depth on that now, but it is basically helpful when sometimes it's hard to find the inverse of the function. Sometimes it's easier to just use this rule rather than find the inverse and then differentiate it. These are the derivatives of the inverse trig functions. I highly recommend you memorize those and know those. All right, moving on. And then finally, how to calculate higher order derivatives. This is basically just taking the derivative again and again. So you can see here's an example, x cubed. First derivative using the power rule would be 3x squared. If we took the derivative of that, we would then get 6x. We could even take the derivative again, and then we would get 6. So it's basically just taking the derivative multiple times. All right, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.